Crooks can adopt the latest AI tech, the latest app, the latest phone very quickly.
Yeah.
Law enforcement can't do that. They have to go through red tape, procurement, processes, like the list goes on, and I've seen it firsthand.
Crime and corruption is efficient.
Unfortunately, that is often in gangs.
Yes.
It's always been like the bikie thing is they join the club because they want to feel like they belong. They get the tattoo, they get the uniform.
I'm Andrew Rule, this is Life and Crimes, and we are again talking to David Bartlett, a most remarkable former policeman who's worked with the FBI and our national and state police forces in many roles, and finally is in a position where he can talk about it. Thank you, David.
Thanks for having me.
Now, David, last week you talked about your early years in the job working for the Victoria Police, keeping an eye on cartels and following the money and all that good stuff. And I think at some point you also found yourself working at the Australian Crime Commission.
So in 2016, the Australian Crime Commission, when it was that small 180 staff kind of organisation, merged with an agency called CrimTrack. CrimTrack manages our national fingerprint system, national DNA system, a few other national policing systems. Basically an IT shop, really, for police. It was always very kind of behind the scenes. For whatever reason, the federal government merged these two organisations, and it was a real shock at the time because we had this small 180 staff team that was very operational, merged with a tech house, like a tech shop with about another 1,000 staff. Very strange thing, a merger to go through, but we then moved into more of an intelligence tech agency as opposed to a rough and ready investigators and detectives running around causing trouble like we used to being a bit more sophisticated, a bit more linked into national security, into the likes of some of those agencies, federal agencies, getting access to them.
So you've gone from being sort of street investigators types to
being more sophisticated.
I
used to describe it as
backroom boys.
Yeah, I used to describe it as a kind of a mix between the FBI and the CIA in a way.
In a way.
So we had like the tech smarts of, say, the CIA, then we had a bit more of the operational street smarts of the FBI and maybe some local law enforcement. It was a really, really good agency, and we would build up intel packages to then hand to the AFP or hand to VicPol. So we would often collect information that we couldn't declare where we got it from and then give it to the local police to action. So there's a lot of things that you see on the TV and the news that it just seems like it was just happened, and you never really know how it got there. And sometimes that does happen, but the way that the organisation's arranged and the processes are, that we keep a very discreet way of doing things.
When there's a police today arrested, and you think, where did that come from? Well, that came from somewhere.
It came from somewhere. And back to my original point about human sources, I think outside of the agency thing, the weak link in a lot of crime is the human element.
It does make you think that, the more you see of crooks, and you've seen a lot more of them than, the rest of us, but they will sell each other out. There is always a point at which they will, probably. For most of them anyway. Whereas your own dear old maiden aunt, the practising Methodist, she will not sell you out because she's made of sterner stuff. There's a difference, but crooks will ultimately betray each other because they're crooks.
They will.
And they're dishonest and they're selfish.
Absolutely.
And they don't have any higher purpose. So it seems to me the most risky, the people that pose the most threat in some ways are those who don't have underworld connections.
Yeah.
You haven't got any leverage over them and no one knows anything about them because they're not rubbing shoulders with other crooks. Is that?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think if you were going to create a criminal enterprise, you'd try to keep it to one person yourself if you could.
The lone actor.
But unfortunately, things like the money laundering operations, the drug importing, it all needs people at different times, and that's a risk.
Yes.
Every single person you introduce to that process or that enterprise is a risk.
Right.
And that's why I guess the cartels do lead with fear, because they are comfortable bringing someone in because that person knows if they do step out of line, problems. Yeah. But, that's something in our tech world now where, like we're talking about, the technology is the gap between the capabilities of even the public service in general, not just police, the public service in general, and what's happening in the private sector, that I describe it as a chasm of two cliffs just getting further and further apart in terms of how quickly the public sector, police, the government can adopt new technology versus the private sector and by extension crooks.
Yes.
Crooks can adopt the latest AI tech, the latest app, the latest phone very quickly.
Yeah.
Law enforcement can't do that. They have to go through red tape, procurement, processes. Like, the list goes on, and I've seen it firsthand.
Crime and corruption is efficient.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah, highly efficient, agile, well-funded. They don't hold steering committees to decide how to spend money. They just do what they need to do to keep the wheels turning.
They've got really good executive hierarchy.
They do.
Very efficient.
Very efficient. And
lean. Not too many layers of
management, no.
management.
But to be honest, it worries me because we're seeing that at a rate of knots like we've never seen before with the rise of AI in terms of the tools that are going to be available to criminal enterprises now. And I don't know what the government can do about it, but the gap is widening faster than it ever has in my career.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're not sitting here saying all the good gears giving the good guys the advantage over the bad guys. We're saying the reverse, meaning, technology.
Technology is
adopted faster by the bad guys.
By far.
Is that right?
Hugely, yeah.
Good God.
Because if they need to do something, they will just go out and buy the latest tech.
Yeah.
But for police to integrate, and we've seen this recently with Mike Bush commenting in Victoria, at least talking about how we are here in Melbourne 10 to 15 years behind other law enforcement agencies. So if we're 10 to 15 years behind other law enforcement agencies, we're probably 20 years or 25 years behind the crime or the criminals that they're trying to catch.
Really?
Unfortunately, you've got a police force here in Melbourne that still sends things around in manila folders. I mean, we can't be operating like that in 2025.
No.
You're not going to get the Colombian cartel exchanging manila folders between people. There needs to be serious money spent on tech and changing the way they think about tech. And the way I talk about that is the traditional means is the government has an idea, they put out a tender, a request for tender, it goes to the market sends them back 3 quotes, they go through this whole procurement process, that takes 9 months.
Then they get a system that doesn't work.
Then they spend $200 million and get a system that doesn't work. That whole slow turning cog has to change. They need to be more open to what I consider public-private partnerships and pilots and proof of concepts in a safe way, of course, but start experimenting with tech that doesn't need to come through a big 4 integrator like a big consulting company or big tech. Start experimenting. That was something the Crime Commission was really good at. When we were tiny, we had 180 staff, we were using some great tech because we didn't have to go through all these procurement headaches.
Right.
So if we heard of some really amazing product that was in the market somewhere in the world, we could just approach the vendor and say, hey, can we just try that for 6 months and see how it goes?
Yeah.
But at least here in Victoria, and I'm pretty sure the other states are very similar, that kind of agility just doesn't exist.
And do you see any real reason why it shouldn't or couldn't?
Obviously, law enforcement data is highly sensitive.
Right.
And there has to be a whole lot of security layers and controls around that.
Yep.
That's one thing. But again, with the rise of AI and tech, there are ways now to make that process more efficient.
Yep.
I think Victoria Police is under a lot of resource strain at the moment, in particularly financially. So the willingness to kind of start experimenting where they could lose money is probably not there. That risk appetite is probably not there in Victoria. And now obviously our state government here is in a lot of debt. So again, there's probably not a lot of appetite to start experimenting. Yeah. But I think if there's a will, there's a way. And I think the will, as we're seeing here in Victoria, I think we need to start seeing more of that with our crime rate and the general fear in the community. I think something has to give in terms of that. And technology, I guarantee you, will play a huge part in solving the crime issues that we're facing at the moment.
You'd hope so.
Well, the reason I say that is that I recently looked into the crime closure rates. So about 60% of crimes in Australia go unsolved.
Is that right?
Yeah.
This is from, shoplifting through
from
to
anything.
murder.
Yeah, anything. So there's just over 2 million offences every year and just over 1 million go unsolved. But what's interesting is in more regional areas, there's a higher solve rate. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because the community know each other. There's less people, there's less scale of crime. So the police have got time to investigate it. The systems work, the IT systems work at that level.
Yeah.
The tools that police have got available to them from a tech perspective work at that level. But when you go closer to Metro Melbourne, and I'll use Melbourne again as an example, the sheer scale of crime, the systems aren't set up to drink from a fire hose is basically is what is happening in Victoria.
Oh, right.
So you've got these poor cops that if they got sent out to Benalla or Gippsland or something like that, they could probably handle the crime reports that are coming in with the systems they've got. But the sheer scale of reports flooding their desk every day,
Means they can't.
They can't. It's literally drinking from a fire hose. And the answer to that isn't more cops. It's fixing the systems.
Because, I mean, Victoria has 20,000 plus police.
It does.
It doesn't seem to me long ago, mind you, it is a fair while ago, that it was fewer than 10,000.
Yeah.
You know, we used to talk about 7, 8, 9, you know, and then next thing it's 20 and it's 21 and yet they're shorthanded. Now, I guess part of the reason might be occupational health and safety, and rightly so. They want to work 2 up, not 1 up. You don't sort of see single police.
Yeah, no, they don't do that anymore, yeah.
That straight away halves the number of some parts of the world, doesn't it?
Yep, yeah, no, definitely.
It used to be 1 cop driving around the district and now it's 2.
I think the hardest thing for Victoria Police, and they've struggled with this for years, is to accurately predict and plan for where they need police and when. Because of the unpredictable nature of crime, it's very difficult to do that. And a few years ago, the Auditor's Office here in Melbourne did a report into what Victoria Police calls the staffing allocation model.
Yeah.
Basically, okay, we give you 500 more cops.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put them?
Yeah.
And this auditor's report was fairly scathing on Victoria Police at the time about their lack of rationale behind where they would send the troops.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot of work there in Victoria. There's a lot of recommendations that came out of that, and I'm sure VicPol is still looking at them. But my worry is that, you know, they will ask for 400 more cops on the street, but you're putting 400 more cops into a potentially broken system.
In recent times, I often say to people sort of a blanket assertion that if a crime is serious enough now to warrant the force's full attention, such as very serious murders, murders that catch attention, you know,
like we've seen recently,
such as Paul Bunker, or such as Silk and Miller, you know, where police have been killed, that the technological equipment is available now that if they apply themselves for long enough, they will crack it, because all of us live in this modern fishbowl where there are cameras and there are electronic surveillance and there's dash cams and there's all the things that it's out there somewhere, if only they can be bothered going through 1 million hours of footage and phone calls or whatever it might be.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons I set up the Safer Places Network back in March, because what I realised was there are about 20 million CCTV cameras currently in operation just in Australia.
20 million?
Yep. So it's about 1 in 5 to 1 in 4 homes have got 2 to 3 cameras.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the government cameras, trains, trams, buses, activity centres, shopping strips, goes on commercial cameras, Woolies, Coles, all those companies have all got cameras.
Yep.
And what I discovered earlier this year was that police were still mostly unaware of where those cameras were. And if they knew there were cameras there, they didn't know who to contact.
Right.
So
you've set, now this leads us to what you're up to.
Yes.
What are you up to?
Yeah, that's what I'm up to. I'm up to trying to help police find footage that often gets lost and never sees the light of day. And what I mean by that is, for example, if a stabbing or a home invasion happens in a residential street, the police will turn up and they will physically walk up and down that street looking for cameras.
Yes. There's one.
There's one.
Oh, no one home. Oh, better go and get a coffee.
Yep. Yeah, so they slip a business card into the door and they say, please call the Prahran Police Station.
Yeah. Which
great. So if that person's is in Europe having a cocktail on a Greek island somewhere,
they're out of business.
Yep. And I've spoken to journalists about this as well, and journalists do the same thing, looking for cameras.
Yes.
So the journos that I've spoken to say they slip their card next to the police card, and they often see multiple cards slipped into someone's door.
Okay.
So I thought, well, why are we still doing that in 2025? We've got 20 million cameras around Australia that are all protecting their own piece of the patch. How can they be used at scale to help everybody?
Yeah.
So in March, I set up the Safer Places Network, and essentially it's just a national network, a voluntary network of people putting their hand up and saying, I've got a camera if you need it.
Right.
So it can be a small business, it can be a large corporation, it can be a local house.
You're hooking them together. You're making a herd of cameras.
Yes, but I'm not connecting to them technically. So I'm just putting a little flag on that address to go, there's a camera there if you need it. Right. I'm not technically streaming the footage. I'm not asking them for footage.
Right.
But even just police knowing that there's a camera there will save them so much time. And I've spoken to major crime detectives and managers that say they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours looking for cameras and then managing the footage on top of that. So, for example, the synagogue arson attack that we saw recently, they collected footage from 1,400 locations. And what I hear from these detectives is often they will have bucket loads of USB sticks from hundreds of locations they've had to collect. But to find all those locations, they've had to walk the streets and look for cameras and then had to find the owner. So my system is just a website where people can sign up and register for free. Yeah. It's voluntary. You can manage your data. You can withdraw it, delete it later if you want to.
Persuade people to do that. I mean,
I've been pretty amazed at
what's in it for them, apart from it's mutual benefit, of course, but to actually persuade any of us to go to the trouble of doing this.
It's an interesting question. I've been working with Neighbourhood Watch Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been to a lot of community events.
Yes.
Talking about it.
Right.
Talking about privacy. Privacy is the number one thing that people often ask. What data are you storing? Can you connect to my cameras? When I recently did the Steve Price interview, Steve said the same thing. He's like, how do I know you can't connect to my cameras? I'm like, well, I'm not asking for passwords. I'm not asking for any technical information. We've had about 400 local residents here in Melbourne sign up in the last couple of months.
So what you're promoting is that people just tell a central authority that they have a camera and it's there to be used if there's a crime.
Yeah, so the way the system works is police, and I've got about 12 police using it at the moment, if there's an incident, they bring up a map, like a Google map, and they just put a circle around where it happened and all the dots appear.
They go, at 4 Smith Street there's a camera.
And my system can send out SMSs to all of them immediately.
Does it? Okay.
So it can mobilise
straight away,
say 100 people immediately to start looking at their cameras to make sure nothing gets deleted.
Is that through message media?
It's just an SMS system called Twilio, It's just some of the tech. And this is kind of the tech that I'm talking about. That kind of tech doesn't really exist in VicPol, but for us in the private sector, we can do some pretty amazing stuff.
Just send a whole heap of...
Yeah, and we can even send phone calls as well. So if people opt in to receive urgent phone calls, we've got a little message that says, hi, this is a message from the Safer Places Network. Victoria Police urgently require your assistance. And you can actually call their phone. So if it's 2 a.m. in the morning, there's a murder out in the street, we can actually call their phone twice in 10 minutes, wake them up. This is if they've opted in for that, if they really want to be that cooperative. And they can actually wake them up and they can then get notified.
Idea.
Yeah, thank you.
So
it's interesting.
Tell me about its birth, the short version of its birth.
I was speaking to my insurance provider and going through the reevaluation of all my security at my house, and I told them that it's covered in security cameras and could I get a discount? And they said, we don't consider cameras a preventative crime measure, so we're not going to give you a discount. And I thought, how do we turn cameras from being an after-the-fact investigative avenue to being something that crooks will actually see a camera and think, there's a camera there, I'm not going to break into this house. We see it sometimes in the media where a crook sees a camera, they'll turn around and run sometimes, but the brazenness of what we're seeing here in Melbourne at the moment is quite phenomenal. So what I'm trying to do is build this network where if they know that camera is connected to our network, they know police can access that footage in minutes. So their little getaway plan from jumping back in their stolen car and racing down to the local sports club to set their car on fire, hopefully with this system taking hold, which it's starting to now, they'll see cameras and go, maybe I'll reconsider breaking into this house because the cops might come down the street and grab me. So I'm turning CCTV into preventative measure.
Right. And does that interest the insurers?
It will.
It will?
It will.
And that strikes me as a very good thing.
I have a meeting with a large one next week, and that's what's interesting. I'm creating a lot of interest in different sectors. For example, I've just got access to 1,500 very, very high resolution construction security cameras. So these are the cameras you see on poles where there's a house being built. There's a little camera on a pole.
Cool.
I've just got access to 1,500 of those across Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. The police can now actually get into remotely. So almost like a self-service model, and they're all over the urban growth areas of those cities. So I'm opening up not just the mums and dad houses, I'm opening up commercial opportunities to coordinate CCTV at a national level. So after I leave you here today, I'm jumping on a plane and going to Canberra because I'm briefing my old workplace, the ACIC, tomorrow. And I'm also briefing the AFP tomorrow because on this platform.
On this platform?
Yeah.
Wow, this is wonderful stuff. When did you get this idea?
It's a funny story, but I was very sick. I was in London back in February and I was sitting in the Tate.
February 2025?
Yes. Yeah, just this year. I was very sick and I went to the Tate Modern Museum in London. I was just sitting there just feeling very sorry for myself, and I just started using ChatGPT, again using AI to blend my passion of law enforcement and tech, community service, and I thought, what can I do? And I basically just started ideating different ideas and concepts through AI, and it came up with this idea basically, and I kicked it off, started making calls. I rang a major crime superintendent at Victoria Police that I've known for years, spoke to her and I said, would this help you? And she said, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I rang Bambi, who's the head of Neighbourhood Watch here in Victoria, Bambi Gordon. I said, Bambi, do you want to get behind this? She goes, absolutely, we're behind you. So I made just some strategic calls initially and realised I'm probably onto something.
Yeah.
And
instant appeal.
And I've been a developer for 30 years in my spare time. I did that at uni, and I did a business. I started a business when I was 16.
What was the business you started at 16?
It was called Superior Business Solutions.
Oh,
great name. I thought. And I even had an old Toyota Corolla when I turned 18, and I had one of those stickers across the back windscreen saying Superior Business Solutions and our phone number.
Oh,
that was amazing.
Wonderful.
I was so proud of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was self-taught web developer, so that would have been 1997.
Really?
1997. And my brother was just doing marketing at uni, and we started the business together. And I was building websites in high school. Then I went to uni, built more websites through uni. And then all the tech helped me through the police as well.
Yes, of course.
So this new platform that we've built, I've built it all myself.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and it's gaining a lot of traction and interest. I had dinner last night with the CEO of Crime Stoppers South Australia, meeting the CEO of Crime Stoppers New South Wales again tomorrow. It's gaining a lot of interest.
Well, co-opting, I mean, we've all watched for 2 decades at least, the British crime shows where they he's now walking down Pall Mall, and the next camera's got him getting into a blue Jaguar. And, this idea that London's bristling with tens of thousands of cameras, which it does.
Which it absolutely is, yep.
Probably largely as a result of the IRA, I suggest. And that's that sort of police show reality.
Yep.
But you've been able to conjure up that sort of sense of security or insecurity for crooks by using privately owned cameras.
Correct.
Governments don't have to put in millions of them.
No, they don't. And if they did, it would probably be the tune of $10 billion. So we're sitting on $10 billion worth of infrastructure that's not being used.
Yeah.
The hardest part, though, is, like you said, is explaining the concept, getting people to voluntarily register so it's not mandated, and then managing the platform. So the platform itself is built, and I was saying this at dinner last night, the platform itself is built. All my time now is in meetings, preparing briefing notes, making phone calls, connecting people that have never been connected before.
What is the incentive for people, householders and shops and so on, businesses, to put their hand up and say, I want to be part of it? Is there a way to incentivise it?
My original business plan was that insurance companies would come on board and be able to offer a discounted premium if they were part of the network. Yeah. That is proving difficult until we've probably got a more trusted reputation. It's going to take a bit longer.
Right.
I think what I'm starting to see is the community, especially here in Melbourne, the community is looking for ideas to help. They know police are struggling. They know that our crime rate's going through the roof. They want to contribute to something that is constructive, peaceful. It's not vigilantism. It's not some of the chaos we see on Facebook.
No.
Like, I think a lot of people are looking for ways to contribute and be part of something that makes a difference.
And effective.
And it helps the police, and ultimately it will catch more crooks, or at least deter crooks.
It's not sort of political.
No.
There will be, opponents who have a particular political bent, sort of libertarianism and civil rights and all that.
I haven't seen as much of that as I would have thought. I would have thought more of that, but I guess we're not.
You're not setting it up.
No, we're not hooking into it. It exists. I'm just coordinating it.
That's the beautiful thing. It's sort of painless.
Yeah, it's painless in one way and
it's
painful in another.
Yeah,
but there's
sort of a very benevolent big brother, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not actually advocating for more cameras. I'm just advocating for making better use of the ones that we've spent money on already.
Yeah.
So, I've probably spent a couple of grand on cameras at my house. Why wouldn't I want them to help my neighbour or help someone else in my street? So that's the angle we're going for. And I spoke recently at the Retail Crime Conference in Melbourne, and the case study I used for that was the 2012 murder of Jill Maher.
Yes.
Which is probably baked into a lot of people's memory here in Melbourne.
No, well.
And the reason I bring that up is when she went missing, and it was the 22nd of September, the footage for that, the famous footage that everyone remembers from inside this small shop, the boutique, the Duchess Boutique on Sydney Road, that footage took 85 hours to get into the hands of police.
Yeah.
That's 3 days.
Yeah.
And why did it take 3 days?
That's a very good point.
And that gave him, the offender, I'm not even going to name, gave the offender time to leave her behind, which I didn't really realise at the time. He actually murdered her in the laneway, left her body there, went home, came back with his car, collected her body hours later, and then drove her up to Gisborne and buried her. But that whole delay, if this system had been in place that night, the watch house keeper where that missing person report first came in could have done a search because her husband knew that she was close to home. So he knew that Jill was about 300 metres from home because he'd just been on the phone to her. Yep. So he could have done a search around the house using my platform of what's 200 metres around.
Exactly.
The Duchess Boutique could have come up.
Yep.
The person at the Duchess Boutique is Belinda Smith. Here's her mobile number.
Bang.
Straight on the phone to Belinda. Can I see your footage? Something serious has potentially happened.
So let's rewrite history a little bit here. If someone like Jill Moore had been attacked that night and left wounded and bleeding but alive, and the crook has departed, and then she's been, she's missing. Her husband could say she's missing, but she was only a few hundred yards away. Conceivably, could save her life.
Absolutely,
they could find her and save her life.
100%. I spoke to someone recently. The offender of that particular murder was a serial sex offender.
He was,
and he was at large for nearly a week. So we were just lucky as a community that he didn't reoffend.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of, yes, you would have saved her life. He could have gone on to murder 3 more people in that week.
Oh, easily.
Do you know what I mean? So there's all these benefits that come from that. And the interesting thing is that watch house keeper could have got that footage very quickly and potentially even shown a still of the footage to the husband and gone, does this look like Jill? And that would have put her at a time and a place very quickly. And they would have been able to focus that search very quickly.
It's a fascinating thing.
Yeah, there's so many case studies like that.
The lost opportunities.
Hi, it's Gary Jubilant here. Do you want a real and raw look inside the world of crime? Well then check out my podcast, I Catch Killers, where I interview people from all sides of the law.
I draw my firearm and I went into fight mode. I wanted to find and confront this gunman.
I'm not getting verbaled, am I?
I shouldn't have trusted you. See, I'm trying to open my mind up to defence powers.
I know, it's just begging to be said.
Yeah, fair call. We have amazing guests every week. Search for I Catch Killers wherever you get your podcasts.
This is nothing to do with what you do, but I'm going to ask or put a question to you anyway. To go from the modern sci-fi world that you're inhabiting so well to a very old technique, is it not remarkable that Australian police forces and some other police forces do not use highly trained tracker dogs, sniffer dogs, trail dogs they call them, as opposed to normal police dogs, which are essentially attack dogs? I'm talking about trained hounds that are very, very good. The number of cases just in recent times where they could save a life or find a lost person, find a fugitive or find a body. I could sit here and name probably 6 or 8 cases where they might have saved a life or found a body or found a fugitive, in fact, or a bunker right now. If in a different parallel universe, phone calls have been made to Hound Dog Central in Canberra, let's say, and they said, right, there's 2 hounds on the helicopter, where do we land? And then they come, and they'd be there before the SOG were, with handlers. They might have been able to get a steer on where the fugitive ran to, and then where he ran to next, and where he might. That would have made that search so much more effective and simpler, and possibly have caught him. And this is not the only. We're talking here Samantha Murphy at Ballarat. We're talking an example of how dogs are so good. The mushroom lady, Erin Patterson, has just been locked up. They did, after quite a long time, bring down technology dogs from interstate, and they just took them around the place, and they immediately turned up USBs,
Amazing.
laptops,
Yep.
iPads, all this stuff that had been hidden, they found it easily. When they did the same thing at Samantha Murphy's disappearance at Ballarat, a long time after her disappearance, I'm talking months, the technology dog found a phone that had been dropped at the edge of a dam. I think it had been covered in water, but the dog found it.
Yep.
Which tells you how good they can be when they're trained and handled properly. Why are we not using one of the oldest methods? I think there were monks breeding bloodhounds in the 1400s. They've been around a long time.
I love that. And I think that's where we're going as a society. In another business I've been running the last few years, we have a saying that says the future is human. And the reason we say that is because of the rise of AI. It's like whether humans still play a part in this. So I actually think we are going to see this kind of weird return to traditional methods over the next few years because of the rise of tech. Tech's going to get so almost out of control. I think this idea of bringing back hound dogs or bloodhound dogs would be something that could happen because it's back to my original point about encrypted communications with crooks. Like we can't rely on tracking people's phones anymore. So we had a bit of a really good period there, a few decades where we could just listen to everyone's phones.
Yes.
But that's essentially gone now. So how do we reverse engineer that?
Yeah, high tech breeds a reaction, and it means that really smart crooks are going to go
Low tech
and go.
Correct.
We never do anything. We never talk on phones.
Nope. Correct.
We never talk in cars.
Nope.
We walk around in our carpet slippers and we write notes on cigarette papers and hand them to each other, and then we eat them.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep.
And they'll have it all their own way for a while.
I think we're very much on the back foot with fighting crime for a whole lot of reasons, but
do you?
Yeah. I think
So it's not all sort of sweetness and light. The white hats aren't really winning that war.
I don't feel that. I mean, crime's a complex issue. It's a societal issue. It will always be there.
Yeah.
And it's not on the police to solve all those issues. I mean, you've got kids that aren't going to school and, I've worked in a multicultural communications agency. I've been the CEO of that company for the last 5 years, working with multicultural communities here in Melbourne and across Australia.
Right. In a charitable capacity?
No. So I've been working in the family business for the last 5 years.
Sorry.
And it's called the Load Agency, and we've been around for 27 years serving mostly government clients on helping them communicate with migrant and refugee communities in Australia.
Right. Yeah.
And we saw a period there probably for about 18 months where the Victorian government gave us no work, and that was very unusual.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is the Victorian government, as an example, would give us work to do, say, a communications campaign around healthy eating or around, transport, public transport or whatever. We saw a period where spending almost just dried up. And I'm like, I know the state's in a lot of debt, but when the state government stops spending on social cohesion programs and projects, it means social cohesion will fracture. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing now that we've got some communities in Victoria that are disenfranchised, not supported by the government, not supported by systems. By systems, I mean the local school. Are they inclusive? Are they respectful of different people with different coloured skins and different language and that kind of thing? And if they're not, they won't feel welcome or they won't feel like they belong. And they'll go find somewhere where they do feel like they belong. And unfortunately, that is often in gangs.
Yes.
It's always been like the bikie thing is they join the club because they want to feel like they belong. They get the tattoo, they get the uniform. They may have been from abusive homes and disenfranchised and all that kind of stuff. Can't hold down a job. Suddenly they're part of a common movement that gives them purpose, gives them a sense of belonging.
And sort of collective power.
Yeah,
that sense.
But if you've got, especially youth like we're seeing in Victoria, if you've got kids between the age of 10 and 18 that don't feel like they belong at their local school because their teachers don't treat them with respect or the systems are broken because they don't speak very good English, so they get teased or bullied or they can't read the materials properly, it actually creates this flow-on effect where they're, well, I'm not going to go to school anymore. I'm going to go join a gang. And then they start committing crime. So it's not a Victoria Police purpose to solve that. It's a government, it's a whole of community, a whole of government.
You're getting into very interesting areas there of, these big issues of human behaviour and groups and subgroups and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
David Bartlett, that completes our second episode of talking to you about all things crime and how to beat it.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening. Life and Crimes is a Sunday Herald Sun production for True Crime Australia. Our producer is Jonty Burton. For my columns, features and more, go to heraldsun.com.au/Andrew Rule, one word. For advertising inquiries, go to newspodcastssold@news.com.au. That is all one word, newspodcastssold. And if you want further information about this episode, links are in the description.